Hello and welcome to everybody. My name is Janice B Gordon. I am the co-president of the Professional Speakers Association South East and a visiting fellow of Cranfield School of Management in consulting and training on key account management. Now, as a speaker, I talk a lot about scaling your sales, but I'm here to talk to our wonderful guests, and we're going to be up close and personal with Eamonn O'Brien. So welcome.
Hello, hello, hello. From Ireland. Where
yes.
The snow is gone. Hooray!
Snow's gone everywhere now, thankfully. Now, I think I met Eamonn about 3 or 4 years ago, and this was in a Sage meetup. I knew about you prior to that, but we're both selected Sage business experts. And I was completely blown away by the masterful way that Eamonn weaved his stories into his presentation. I was completely blown away that I made sure that I got you down to the Southeast. But Eamonn has over 25 years in senior international sales marketing roles, both in multinational and marketing consultancy services clients. And Eamonn O'Brien has run countless training courses on developing communication skills in Ireland and the US. And he's frequently an international speaker in marketing events in North America, UK, and the rest of Europe. Now, research shows that many people have a really deep-seated fear of speeches. Now, through the Reluctant Speakers Club, Eamonn supports many people to increase their confidence and skill in public speaking and banish the fear of podiums forever. So, let's see. So my first question is what's the one thing in your early life that you always take with you, or that has had its biggest impact on you and your life?
Well, actually, I was just thinking, as you said that, of a little instant back in school when I was maybe about 12 or 13 years of age. And I was not the most academic of students. I was number 3 son, the forgotten child. And so we had Swatty 1, Swatty 2, and I was the messer. but obviously, and every report I got in school would always say, Eamonn has great ability, must try harder. But anyway, so 13 years of age, though, we had a priest called Father Bradley, and he was handing back essays, and he just said to me, Eamonn, you know how words stick. He just said, you have a way with words. You need to do something with that. Now, he could have been talking utter tosh, but he connected with me, and it's, encouraging people to find what they're good at, to express themselves more effectively. My goodness, what a message. And I suppose you probably have had teachers who really influenced you as a youngster.
Yes, I have. I remember Mrs. Hubbard.
Mrs. Hubbard! Yeah, so Father Bradley absolutely features in terms of something that has always stuck with me, both in terms of how I react to things, but also how I believe others do too. Mm-hmm. Mm. Find people doing something well.
Once Father Bradley kind of gave you that idea, what was the path thereafter?
Well, I'm going to make an admission or two as I do this. So this is almost like a confessional.
Quite appropriate with Father Bradley.
Yeah. So I'll give you kind of the polar opposite. So 15 years of age was the first time I ever tried to do any speaking. I decided I would join a debating society. I thought it was a good idea. And I still remember exactly what the topic was on the day. It was, this house believes that the Irish Parliament is nothing more than a circus and our Prime Minister only a ringmaster. Well, I prepared whatever I prepared for that, and I stood up and I got 30 seconds into it, and then I completely and utterly forgot what came next. And my notes were so, to this day, I have terrible handwriting. I couldn't see what came next. I look at the audience, and of course, they don't know either. They're no use. So we're blank face looking at blank face. And then before Forrest Gump was invented, I had a Forrest Gump moment, and I just looked at them and I said, and that's all I have to say about that. And I sat down to stunned silence. And I was so traumatized by that experience that I didn't actually speak in public again until I was well into my 20s. And so what set me on the road to speaking was actually that I did an MBA in Manchester Business School. And I got to, as part of that, to go overseas for one term. So I went to a place called Kellogg, where it's a pretty good school in America. And I picked a topic that I thought would be a bit of fun and wouldn't be too hard, which was on business communication, but it turned out to be about public speaking. And I met this fellow called Marty Stoller, who's since dead, but he was the most remarkable guy, and he really introduced us to lots of things. But the most important thing is to realize that if you are a story-centric speaker, you can connect with almost any audience. So that's cool. So first job out of college, MBA, was with MCI, which is a big telecom company in America. And I used to make advertisements in 11 different languages: Russian, Polish, Arabic, Hindu, Urdu, hairdo, all sorts of things. But he called me into his office one day and said, "Eamonn, so I got you a spot at an all-hands meeting." So I thought, okay, so that's probably, we're having sandwiches and beers, and there's 15 of us there. And so I said, well, what's involved? And he said, okay, so there'll be about 700 people. And so all the senior people in the PLC, all the VPs, all of the international people will be in. And there's one more thing, Eamonn. So what's that? You're speaking before the CEO. Don't let the side down. So if I was panicking before, I was in full flight terror at this point. So I practiced and practiced and practiced. And I just simply told a pile of stories, all of them true. And honestly, this is true. As I was telling those stories and I started to feel more relaxed and I was enjoying the audience and they were obviously enjoying that experience, I honestly completely forgot the CEO was due to speak after me. Completely. And so she went up directly after with me. She starts off by saying, great, so who put Conan O'Brien's older brother on before me? And a woman just turned to me and she said, boy, you're in trouble. She was sitting. She had facts. But the upshot was, she did forgive me, what have you. But so I'd only spoken for 20 minutes. I got 3 invites to speak immediately on the back of that. And one person said to me, and what's your fee? And I thought, fee? What? Like you get paid for this? So I said $200. He said, oh, thank God. I thought you said thousands. Anyway, I became a professional speaker, actually, really by happenstance.
Yes.
And that's, so one thing that got the other, yeah.
So what's the most valuable benefit that you have received in your role as a professional speaker, president of Ireland?
Well, I think I separate the most valuable thing. The most valuable thing, first of all, from being involved with the Professional Speaking Association is that you are amongst your peers. These are all people who have experience in speaking in front of audiences, some a lot more than others, and you can learn from most everybody who's going to be in the room. And I have constantly been amazed by just how much people know, and just the network and what it allows you to tap into is utterly amazing. But being asked to be president, well, that was kind of a funny one because I kind of got a kick in the shin at a big event over in the UK. Here, Eamonn, you're good at organizing things. Why don't you do that? So I said, so I'd had a beer or two, and I should have said, let me think about it. But I said, sure. And but honestly, it was a great experience because what it allowed me to do was really to think about what kinds of events did I want to share with the other members. and to both have showcasing of people locally and bringing in international talent to broaden the conversation, broaden the reach. And so it was super. So I really enjoyed it. And I know that, there's a lot of work that goes into these things, and you're experiencing that.
Yeah,
firsthand.
A lot of work.
And but you appreciate a lot of not just what happens when you are on stage, but a lot of the organizing that needs to go on as you build audiences for things. So actually, as a marketer of speaking or expert speaking, you actually pick up a great deal of nous.
I think you're absolutely right. It's certainly worth all of the work, and we've got a meeting tonight as well. So we've got Frank Finesse that's speaking, which is brilliant, really, and Julie Holmes. So really looking forward to it. So it's certainly worth all of that, and it's just great. There's one thing speaking in front of an audience, you see the reaction, their eyes, and the energy. But when you put on an event, it's like 10 times that, really, isn't it? Even if you're not speaking, you still get the same feedback of energy as well. Yeah,
so it's super.
Yeah. Now, Eamonn, you are author of my Bible, and this is it. You can see I really do go through this quite a lot. You know, how to make powerful speeches, and certainly this is a brilliant book. Well done on that. But you also do a lot with video. So I'd like to know, do you think that books are still relevant in this socially connected world?
I think the answer is yes, but video, just to be 100% clear about this, is absolutely what's happening in terms of what people are consuming online. So, when I started writing blogs before I wrote that book, I started blogging maybe about 5.5 years ago, something like that. And at that time, video was maybe 5%, it went to 10%, and then it went to 50%. But today, in excess of 80% of everything that's consumed online, most of it through this thing, it is video. So truth is that if you are not creating video content for your audiences and you want people to form an impression of you, there's a good chance that they will form impressions of other people and not you. So yes, video content is very important. But the thing about books is that a book like, so for example, the book that you picked up there, if a book helps you, particularly from a business perspective, to feel like you're better off and you can do something more effectively. Video is great for short, snappy types of things where people kind of get an idea, they get an impression, but a book allows you to give people a lot more guidance, if you like, a lot more the steps of how to get something done. And a curious thing about that book is that early last year, a dean of a law school in Texas must have come across that book and thought, oh, this is quite good, I'm quite enjoying this. And so he made that required reading for his law school, and almost instantly 6 others followed suit. Wow. So what's interesting is that when people find something they like and the word spreads, so actually that's cool as long as they all continue to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
I sell lots of books, but the point is that obviously there is a need for that kind of guidance, and that's something which you can't easily get directly from a video. But the two work together.
Oh, okay. But you also podcast, and I know that the Reluctant Speakers Club, you mentioned that you've blogged for about 5-6 years, but the Reluctant Speakers Club was voted one of Ireland's 6 best corporate blogs. And that was 2 years running in the Blog Awards in Ireland. Now, Eamonn, you're making us look really lazy. Really lazy. What is your productivity tips?
Well, my productivity tips. Your question is a good one, actually, because I'm actually, I'll answer that in two parts, because I'm actually replacing the podcast I used to do with something different, which will be happening in April. So coming to a cinema near you. So I'll probably mention that when I come to visit you all in April. But it will be specifically on corporate storytelling and how to make that more high impact and what have you. But productivity, I find that I have to compartmentalize that when I am creating content, I set aside specific days for that specific time. And actually, one of the things I don't do is I don't come into my office here in the city centre of Dublin. I will do stuff at home just because I find when I'm writing or I'm creating that that's a better environment for me. But the other thing is that I find that if you can find ways to collaborate with others, that's often a great way to instantly create interesting content. And that's why the podcast, actually, you say that, oh, you're making me look like, I'm doing lots of stuff. But truth is actually that it takes oftentimes less time to create an interesting podcast than it does to write a blog post. It depends. Now, so if I'm writing some blog posts, it might take me maybe an hour or two, but there are others where it could take me a day. It really depends on what I'm writing about. So the productivity tip would be try chunking time and turn all devices off, because distraction is frightful in terms of what it does to you. And the problem actually is once you get distracted, and there's really interesting research done on this over in the States, that according to the UCLA folks, it takes 3 to 5 minutes for you then to re-engage back again with whatever you're doing before when you allow distraction in.
Do you find that mornings or afternoons, evenings is your best time?
That has evolved over time. I find that now mornings are a better time for me, but it used to be when I was younger. That's a relative thing. That I was always a night owl. So that has changed over time. Could be fun for children. I don't know.
There is some research around the kind of 90-minute chunking, and then you've got the egg timer and 25-minute chunking. Does that work for you, or actually it's just turn off devices, create the right environment, and just plow through it?
Yeah, I have to say that the way to hell is paved with good intentions with me. I'll use the tomato timer. Right, I'm definitely doing the 25-minute thing here. Or I'll use a little thing called a P clock. Are you familiar with this? Little device you can use on your phone, which I love.
Oh, yeah.
So that's very helpful. I was going to try and put it up there, but it's taking forever. So I'll put on chunks of time there, or I just put on a timer on a cooker, but truthfully, what I find is that I oftentimes have to plow through and past that. But once you get on a roll, don't stop. Don't take your foot off the gas.
Yeah. So we at PSA Southeast, we're really lucky to have two of Europe's leading experts on storytelling and body language. And this is the 10th of April, so you can get your tickets for that. And so joining forces is Eamonn O'Brien and Stefan Verrar. Yep. Now, they will be delivering a masterclass workshop, how to make your stories an experience audiences will remember. Now, first of all, tell me, how did you meet Stefan?
So I met Stefan at a European professional speaking event, and I had done a spot talking about storytelling and how to be more high impact, and he did a spot on body language, and we were just chatting over a beer, and I said, oh man, I just loved what you did. And he said, I love what you did. And we were saying, I'll see you and raise you I love your stuff type thing. And I thought about it over the next day or so, and I just called him. I said, Stefan, I was just thinking, never mind the beer, which I enjoyed, but wouldn't it be cool if we could bring what you do and I do together? Because imagine if we could really help people, not just to tell stories, but to experience it at a heightened level. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So 8 weeks later, we had appeared in Dublin in front of an audience of 50 people. And they gave us a great reaction. So we said, well, that's good. We should do that again. So we've turned it into a bigger type of masterclass or workshop. And so we're going to be visiting Edinburgh with you all and down in Brands Hatch, over to Amsterdam. We're going to Dallas. We're going to Berlin. And I think we're also likely going to do Paris and maybe a few other places this year. So all of that stemmed from simply just listening to the possibilities of what could happen. And actually, what that leads into actually is for anybody who's in a small business, whether you're an expert speaker, a professional speaker, or you're just, you're in the training, you're in consulting, you're in whatever it happens to be. Finding like minds where you can collaborate with other people can often be a very quick way for you to test the waters with an idea to see what would actually happen with a lot less work and actually ups the enjoyment too in what you do, because we are having a blast.
I can see that from the bromance, and now you're touring the bromance.
Yes.
You're on tour.
We're on tour, yes.
And we're really lucky to have you, especially with you taking it international as well. But this is not the first time you've done that. You worked with Amanda.
Yes, Amanda Webb, yeah.
Amanda Webb, Go Do Video. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the idea of Go Do Video is, oftentimes people make excuses for why I can't do this, that, the other thing. I'll create video content. I know I should do it, but, when I get the right lighting, when I get the right fancy camera, when I get the... Folks, you already have, as Amanda says, this little device here is more powerful than all the kit and caboodle she used to put into her mini car that she had 20 years ago when she started in filming. It is ridiculous what you can do with this. So the truth is that a lot can be done very, very quickly. So we do this thing called Go Do Video, which the idea is to show people how do you make a more interesting, high impact video that gets seen, because no point having a great video if nobody sees it, if a video is not seen, does it exist? But, it's a question. But the idea is to show people how you can do that for next to no money. And so we set up some workshops. We did one in London. If I have time and not for this audience, I'll tell you about a funny story that's directly attached to the venue that we chose that day.
I was there.
Oh, you were there. So you saw.
Yeah,
you saw. We were given a landmark, but that wasn't the landmark that people remembered. All I say is that there was more of a buzz that day than I realized. That's all it was. Yes, indeed, you were there that afternoon. So that was terrific, and so we got a great reaction to that, and then we brought it to where did we go? We went to Manchester, we went to Hertfordshire, we went to Newcastle. We've just done Dublin. In fact, the first one that we ran in Dublin sold out so quickly we had to add a second one, and now we're going to Galway, Waterford, Belfast, and then we're looking to go back to the UK again. And that's if you let us in. If Brexit has been in, I don't know.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Anyway,
it's video. You can also do it virtually as well.
Yes, I suppose. Yeah, it's better in person though for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's interesting. You posed. If no one sees your video, does it exist? Yeah, exactly. And that's quite an important thing that, I think in the professional world, we think everything should be perfect and really stylized. And actually, the more interesting things are the ones that are not polished, that are off the cuff, that have quirky things in it. They're the things that get shared, that goes viral.
Yeah.
So, there is a bit of a juxtaposition between the professional speaker and presentation and actually the things that you want to get shared. Really, how do you actually balance that?
Well, that's a really, I love that question, because if you look at what attracts people to a video, usually it's that, they get hooked within a short space of time, but they can relate to it. And oftentimes when people do the overly corporate deal, where it's absolutely tight, the coloring was super, I did my white balancing, I got the sound right, I had the boom people in, and what have you, it's dull as ditch water. And if I asked you, and hand on heart, and you can tell me the truth about this, how many awesome corporate videos have you watched, let's say even I was going to say last month, but I'm going to say the last year, where it was produced to the nth degree of quality? How many of those have you watched?
None.
Yeah, correct. And actually, if you look, and I did a blog post some time ago about what goes viral and why things go viral. So I must send you the link to that. Just have to find it again. I've read so much stuff. But anyway, what I found was really interesting was that, so there were 7 categories of things that tended to go viral. So you had things that were funny, you had things that were music or related, you had things that were celebrity related, you had dogs, cats, all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that wasn't in the top 7 was business related stuff. So I said, well, okay, so of the not so famous but nearly famous business related stuff, what made that go viral? And guess what? Almost everything that was in that viral area was story-based stuff. And it was impromptu types of stuff, and it was capturing things that were in the moment and of the moment. And that was really a bit of an eye-opener. So the truth is that it's not about posh, it's not about perfect. People aren't expecting that, but if they can be interested in the conversation, interested in the ideas, get something useful they can use immediately, brilliant.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to be wrapping up now, but I've got 3 quick fire questions for you. Yes. Okay, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So what's the one thing you haven't done yet?
I have never either been to or spoken over in Asia. I've made film. Sorry, that's not true. I've made films in Bollywood, but I've never actually spoken over there. So
your life is just one big story from one to another. Like, you drop something in about Bollywood, but the thing is, I haven't got time to cover it. We're going to have to do another one of these, honestly, because you've got so many interesting stories. So, and I thought that was quite used. That's really clever as well. Putting it out there. You've got to put it out there, really, haven't you? Yeah. I would bet within the next month you're going to get an invitation to go and speak.
I'd love to go and speak in, Japan, Hong Kong, China, Singapore.
Yeah, now you're overdoing it, aren't you? You're listing all the places. Putting it out there.
I'm taking the bait.
You're writing your order, aren't you? Okay, so what's the one thing you're most passionate about and why?
The single most thing that I have become passionate about is this notion of helping people to connect more effectively with other people. So I've learned a great deal. So when I made all those commercials, I made over 300 of them. I learned a great deal as a consequence of that, and I've been working on that ever since. And one of the most important things that I realized is that people can do more and connect more with people if only they will let their audience in. And so part and parcel of everything that I do is about helping people to do that job, because if you can amplify that meaning and that connection, then you can achieve more. And it's never been more important, because if you look at what's happening with artificial intelligence, which for years we kind of ignored, and you saw on Star Wars or what have you, as people were going from side to side of the room. The truth is that it is transforming what is happening in the workplace, and where to the extent that we are becoming more automated. We are becoming more commoditized. We are becoming less capable of actually taking information on board because we have too much coming at us. So the human connection is really important.
Wow, lovely. Okay, so if you're on a desert island alone, what's the one thing you would have to take with you, and you'd want to take with you, and you must take with you? You couldn't live without.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, the answer, and the only one I can give you, has to be my wife, especially since it's her birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
So I have to do that. The kids, they'll have to paddle their own canoe.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. It's been really a journey, really, hasn't it? It's been, a revelation, lots of stories. And I'm so looking forward to having you at PSA Southeast on April the 10th. I'll put a link in with this for people to get tickets. It'll be great to see yourself and Stefan Vera talking about body told stories and really how you convey the whole experience of stories. And I think that's a real skill. There's a lot about storytelling, but actually that's taken it to a whole nother level. So I really look forward to participating in that workshop with yourself and Stefan. And we are definitely having to do this again, most definitely, because I know that you're a goldmine of insight and inspiration. So thank you so much, Eamonn. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Right, see you soon.
Take care. Cheers.